Still not my bloody hat. Welcome to Film Garden and our halfway through the year review of the movies from 2018. Been busy, been doing a lot of work outside of making these videos, so hence the long break in between drinks. But obviously there's been a lot of movies being released, so I have been keeping up with everything. 4 movies, and in this order: Han Solo, Jurassic Park 5 or 2, depending. What people are calling the scariest movie of the year, Hereditary, and we're going to finish on Infinity War. So we're going to give you our most humble opinions on each of those pretty big movies. Start recording. Alright, so let's officially begin.
You look good. A little rough around the edges.
Han Solo. It's almost like the fan base is starting to come together and universally reject these movies. I think the magic has well and truly worn off.
Heard about a job. Big shot gangster putting together crew.
And, you know, like, we talk about all kinds of Star Wars fans. There being fans that are of different ages, who have come in at different times. But the OGs, the original gangsters, I reckon the majority of us are probably a little bit like, yeah, well, you know, we can't recapture that magic. We're not that age anymore.
What do you think? Well, what do you know?
All the nostalgia tryouts that were in this film, like seeing the Millennium Falcon brand new, and seeing like, what's his name? Crispin Glover, someone else. Danny Glover, no. Childish Gambino. Even seeing him as Lando, didn't really do it for me. It was more an imitation of a character than being a character himself. Overall impressions of Solo, not great. Like, it felt like a ho-hum Star Wars film. The guy, Aldrich, whatever his name is, he was fine. He would have made a really good character if we were meeting him for the first time. But because we've got to make those obvious connections and comparisons to young Harrison Ford, first of all, this guy's too short. You could have at least got someone with a bit of height. And he wasn't grumpy enough. Like, even though he was grumpy in the original trilogy, he was still a young, grumpy guy. Like, if you look at the way he behaves with Princess Leia, he actually acts like a really kind of grumpy old spoiled brat.
You could use a good kiss!
In this movie, he was just kind of polite. He was kind of... For some reason, the filmmakers mistook Han Solo as the swashbuckling charmer. He was actually, like, not that charming at all. He was charming at parts, but he was more grumpy than he was charming, and that was part of his charm. You know, that's part of Harrison Ford's charm. You know, you were always going to have a problem with the casting. You know, I felt like Princess Leia got undermined a little bit with having another love interest, which seems a lot more romantic. You know, the love interest from his home. It didn't need a love story at all. It didn't need any of that, and it made it part of his, like, origin story. How he got the name was okay. Give or take, you know, like, I don't think we needed to have him be named in this film. He could have just been Solo for whatever reason, but, you know, whatever.
You look great.
The fact that he ended as a good guy, that kind of that got me in a weird spot. That ground my gears. I didn't think that was right. I think he needed to have ended on a bad note as more of a villain than a hero, just so that he can be redeemed in the films that follow. I don't know if they're meant to be trying to make these in trilogies or whatever, but he shouldn't have ended as being a good guy. He should have ended as being as he was at the beginning of the Star Wars saga. Yeah, he shot first in this, but like, he wasn't a scoundrel. The question of what should be and should not be shown in a Star Wars franchise now is a debate that's going to just keep on going. I'm not really that excited about Star Wars anymore. The next one, I'm really curious to see what they do for my own personal reasons, but yeah, it's lost its magic.
How many can you save?
11 species. Blue is the last of her kind.
Jurassic Park 3, Jurassic Park 5. Went in with very low expectations because I thought the last one was just a reboot of the best one, which was the first one. I was going into this curious about what the monster was going to be. You know, they had a freak monster in the last one, and now there was another one they were going to have. But that was a big kind of anticlimax when, you know, it does one cool thing, and then for the rest of it, you're not sure exactly how intelligent it's supposed to be, even though it can do stuff. It kind of runs around like another wrecking ball, and you know, we've seen that whole last sequence, the whole second half of the film, in fact, was just like been there, done that, seen it.
They're gonna be hereafter. Welcome to Jurassic World.
Give us something new, you know. Let's see Dino Riders. Let's see them kind of get like really weaponize these dinosaurs and go to war with these, like, you know, fuck, who knows. Anyway. Hereditary. We went to Tasmania for Dark Mofo, and we actually went and saw this while we were there, my wife and I, and it was a pretty, it suited Dark Mofo. It was a very dark movie.
A little suspicious. My mother was a very secretive and private woman.
It's one of those movies that don't make you feel very good by the end of it. It's very mentally disturbing. It makes you kind of think, and it gets you looking up like video essays on explanations of the ending and theories about what actually happened and why the small houses and why certain events happened and who certain people were and blah, 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 blah.
She was a very difficult woman, which maybe explains me.
Yeah, it gets tied up in a bit of a weird knot at the end and makes you wonder why certain things happened. It was... The weirdest thing was, in the middle of the film, I got a call, which I had to take, and duck out outside to talk to the Uber driver who Marhez had left her phone in the car of, and he was trying to get in touch with us to get the phone back, and in the middle of the movie, I feel my phone vibrate in the pockets, and then had to dash off outside. That was the actual moment when that scene happened. By the time I got back in and sat down next to Marhez, and she was kind of like sitting there, like, you know, pale face. I was like, well, what just happened? And I look up at the screen, and there's a decapitated, spoiler alert, decapitated head of a really unfortunately looking girl. Oh, it was terrible. Oh, great actress, but man, that image of her, of that shot, for anything, that freaks me out. I'm not a big horror fan. I'm not a massive horror fan, but I do like a good scare now and then if it's done right. And being around Dark Mofo in Tasmania really kind of set the scene.
There was an idea.
And that leads us to Infinity Wars.
To bring together a group of remarkable people. To see if we could become something more.
Oh, such a big film, and what hasn't been said about it already by everybody else and the entire internet. You know, like a lot of people, I was pretty disturbed by the way it all ended. I think it was a powerful character piece of Thanos. I really came in as a fan of Thanos because I first saw him in my first comic book I ever picked up. It was a Thor comic book. So to me, Thanos has always been like an enemy of Thor because that was my entry point. Probably not in the grand scheme of things, but the fact that Thor and he had this kind of like physical kind of equilibrium, that it took Thor and his best weapon to actually nearly defeat Thanos. I love that. I thought, but I was also kind of so consumed by all the other storylines because I have to hand it to the guys who wrote it. You know, they were fantastic. Hats off to those guys for piecing together so many characters, getting the characters right, getting them interacting with each other in the ways you want them to, while still telling a story about a villain that has to live up to the hype. Well done. Well done. But the next movie has a lot riding on it. So that's going to be a tough one. Overall, these movies throughout 2018, if was to give them our rating system, Solo, I'd give 5 out of 10.
Do you really believe that there's some stored up conflict that exists between us? There is no us.
For me, it was just mediocre. A lot of the stuff that happened in it was just not that exciting. Even just the whole Kessel Run. The Kessel Run. Too much retconning, you know. Like parsecs could still just be a measure of time in this world that they've. You know, why do we have to go play around with our rules? Jurassic Park 3. It wasn't disappointing. It was. I'd give 5 indifferences.
Do you really believe that there's some stored up conflict that exists between us? There is no us.
Hereditary was 6 out of 10. Overrated.
Self-improvement is masturbation.
There was a lot of build up to that. Scariest movie of the year. A lot of the kids at school were kind of freaked about it, but it was good, but you know, it was overrated. And last but not least, Infinity Wars. This is the highest rated film that Film Garden have given since we started reviewing these films. It could have been in the top 10 of all time, but there are too many other good movies that take those spots, so it nearly makes it. I reckon it's a masterpiece.
Chaos! We will cause the world with this machine. Will be our final masterpiece!
In that how they pulled off the melding of all these characters in their voices while telling a story with the set pieces as big and amazing as they were. And anyway, we covered all of it in the review, and you know, this is all coming pretty late, but better late than never. You should have gone for the head. You should have gone for the head, Thor. You wouldn't have had all those months of counselling. Thank God Thor didn't die. Oh man. Anyway, so that's our 2018 wrap up for the first half of the year. Again, keep your eye out for some new content coming in a very different way. So this is Film Garden, and I'm JB, and I'll catch you guys later.